have been able to apply all of our overhead expenses. So there is a kind of under applied overhead. So if we have the under applied overhead, that is one situation, and another situation is if we apply more overhead expenses than what it actually incurs. So actual incurrence of the overhead expenses of say 1,000 taka, but we have applied in our job, that is overhead expenses 1,200 taka. That is the case of over applied overhead. So if it is the under applied overhead, what is the consequence in the cost of goods sold and net operating income? So we need to make adjustment for under applied overhead expenses. So what I mentioned here in under applied overhead expenses is that we have incurred 1,000 taka overhead expenses. This is the actual incurrence, 1,000. But we have been able to apply overhead to our manufacturing cost. I mean, in the job cost sheet, 800 taka. So you see, actually we have incurred 1,000, but we have been able to apply how much? 800. So which one you should reflect in the cost of goods sold? You should reflect this one, the actual incurrence of the cost of goods sold. In that case, as you have the costing of 800 taka, in terms of the job cost sheet, in terms of the manufacturing sheet, a manufacturing cost reflected by the job cost sheet. So what you need to do, you need to add back 200 so that it becomes equal to the actual incurrence of cost of goods sold. So it is the way that how you can make adjustment. In this way, what you are doing, you are increasing the cost of goods sold. I mean, this one, you are increasing the cost of goods sold. This is the cost of goods sold based on your job cost sheet. But based on the actual incurrence, the cost of goods sold is 1,000. So you are adding back 200 to get the 1,000 actual cost to reflect. So what will happen when you make this adjustment? It will increase the cost of goods sold and it decreases your net operating income. And the opposite thing happens if we make the if we have the over applied overhead cost, just the opposite case, okay? And the role of job cost sheet is like that when over time in a particular year, you will complete a number of jobs, say 10 jobs. If you are a big company, you have a large order amount, or if you are a small company, you may have completed 100 jobs or 150 jobs. So all jobs have the unique numbers and all jobs have components of direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. You see these things for each of the job. For each of these job, you will have some component used for direct materials. You have used some components of, I mean, the direct labor, and also you have applied the manufacturing overhead. But you see that I mentioned to you that how we classify the inventory in terms of raw materials, in terms of work in progress, in terms of finished goods. I probably mentioned it, that how we get this, okay, in previous the class before the previous class. So for each job, you have a corresponding raw materials remaining, you have corresponding work in progress. For each job, you have some finished goods from each job. So when you add all the raw materials for the job, for all jobs, you add all the work in progress remaining for all jobs, you add all finished goods remaining for all jobs, I mean coming from all job sheet. So you get a number that reflects the total finished goods, that reflects the total work in progress, that reflects the total raw materials. Okay, so you see that these items are items for financial statement. So you see that financial statement is not prepared directly. So the raw material for the financial statement is a kind of some ledger number or some kind of ledger sheet. Okay. So this ledger sheet, for the raw materials, there will be a separate ledger. For work in progress, there will be separate ledger. For finished goods, there will be separate ledger. So each of the values from the ledger will be transferred to the financial statement for each of these component I mentioned. Okay. And you will also be able to estimate your cost of goods sold based on the cost you have reported for all jobs in the job cost sheet. Okay. So one thing we like to remember or we like to re-emphasize is that it might look like that job order costing is applied only by the manufacturing companies. But the thing is not like that. Job order costing is also used by the service companies. So let me take you one example, is that if a service company is a movie making companies, so you know that there are some production companies which produces movie, and there is a producer you see on the when you watch a movie, you see a producer name or the producer company name. So that producer company name, that producer company actually incurs the cost for movie and bears the cost for movie. Okay, but the thing is that if we think of a movie, what will be the direct materials or what will be the direct labor or what will be the manufacturing overhead for that movie? Think of the movie making company, producer company is a service company. Okay, so first of all, in our country, we have some movie manufacturing, I mean the producing companies like, I can't recall, there are some local movie manufacturing companies, and we also see some movie producing companies in outside. But let's think of some direct materials for producing a movie. So you see, what kind of direct materials you expect for a movie? And can you please use your chat box to give me the answer so that I get some idea from you? For producing a movie, what are the likely materials for direct materials? I believe you have got my question. So try to write it down. It's not necessarily to be correct, but we'll try to have some food for discussion. Camera. So stage light, stage background, costumes, actors, remuneration. Okay. So the responses are coming. It's very good. Okay. So let me pick some answers from you, given by you. Camera, stage light, stage background. Let's think of this component. You see, that the camera, stage light, stage the back, meaning the background. But you see, the camera and light are not bought for a single movie. It will be used for a number of movies that company will be producing. So I was asking about the direct materials. So it is more likely to be the candidate for the overhead. Okay, the camera expenses or the light expenses. If I do not think of more sophisticated way, but one particular thing I like to think for the direct material, that is the costume. So the costume actors or actress wear for a particular movie is a kind of unique and solely applicable for that movie. So costumes can be considered as a direct material. And you have mentioned orders and the makeup costing. So if we can artist fee, director's fee, okay, script writer remuneration. So you see that these things are particularly applicable to a movie. So these are more kind of the direct labor expenses. Okay. So these are more kind of direct labor expenses and particularly applicable to a single movie or particularly applicable to particular movies. Okay. So you already have mentioned some expenses for overhead. I mentioned earlier from your responses, the light, background, and other utilities you might think of. So those things are uh, part of the overhead expenses. So you have got a very good idea that it is not only the manufacturing companies which is the candidate for using the job order costing, rather we have some uh, I mean service companies which can also use the the job order costing. Okay, so I have paused recording for one purpose. This is the ending of our discussion for chapter 2. But what I like to do now, we like to explore some exercises together. But before that, what I like to do that you see my browser. Okay, so what you like to do, or what I'm trying to emphasize to you, that there is a this website. No, okay. You see this website address McGraw-Hill education.com and the slash higher education higher ed and the contract.html. I'm sharing this with you for one purpose. Let me mention it. Okay, everyone. Okay, so this is the publisher site for our text. So what I like to do, uh, I like to ask you that use your account ID. I mean the account provided by the university to you, your student account, and go to here. I mean not immediately, but at your free time, sign in. This one connect, and you create an account. Uh, you create an account as I have created my account. That's why I'm seeing this screen. I mean, I'm asking you to make a student account using uh, using your official email ID uh, on this site, and you will have some resources for this text available to you. And I do not know whether you will be allowed to open an account, but please try first. Then share your feedback that what is happening. Then I can check as I have created my instructor account. I cannot understand that what is going to happen if I would create a student account. Okay, so this is the site in particular, McGraw-Hill, and particularly this one Connect, and you create an account is to and explore that whether it is possible to explore the resources available for the student account. And if you need some answers to some questions you are not getting or you're not understanding, write a comment in the Google Classroom or write a post in the Google Classroom so that I can get back to you. Okay. So I'm assuming that you have your textbook. For your convenience, I will make a reading of the problems we will be discussing from the browser. I mean, from my ebook. Then we'll solve the problem in the Microsoft whiteboard. Uh, and I will also look at my text. Okay. So if you have the text, please, you can open the page number 82. 82 will try to explore the problem. 29, exercise 29. This is my ebook. I close this, but keep it open. Okay, questions are here. No, not this question. Exercises. Okay. You're watching my screen, I'm sure. That's why I'm not asking from you. So exercise 2.9, this is from the page number 82 of the hard copy. And you see that a problem, and we'll try to solve it by using the job order costing. Okay, so let me start the recording first again. Resume, not start. Now we like to explore some problems regarding the job order costing, and we'll also try to apply what we have learned in the previous class on the job order costing, and how can we apply it. So Taviras Corporation, pardon me if the pronunciation is not correct. Taviras Corporation is currently operating at 50% of its available manufacturing capacity. It uses a job order costing system with a plant-wide predetermined overhead rate based on machine hours. At the beginning of the year, the company made the following estimates. Machine hours required to support estimated production, 165,000 machine hours. Then fixed manufacturing overhead cost, 1.98 million. Variable manufacturing overhead cost per machine hour, $2 per machine hour, variable manufacturing overhead. Then compute the plant-wide predetermined overhead rate. Then during the year, job P90 was started, completed, and sold to the customer for 2,500. Following information was available with respect to the job. These are some information for the computation of manufacturing cost. And there is an issue raised by the chief financial officer, but we'll look at the issue after solving the first two requirements. Okay. So we like to make some calculation first, but before that, I like to highlight something that we have got some information that machine hours is an activity based. So machine hour is an activity based. Okay, so machine hour is our activity base. So you can recall that what I mean by activity base. At the beginning of the year, this is an idea that we'll be using the predetermined overhead. That's why it is at the beginning of the year, the company made the following estimate. So plant-wide predetermined overhead rate indicates that we do not have the department level information. You probably can recall that in previous class, we solved a problem which has two departments, milling and assembly, if I'm not wrong. But you see, it is a kind of overall, I mean, the broad level predetermined overhead rate, not the multiple predetermined overhead rate based on number of departments or based on number of activities. But you have to look at that at which capacity the machine, the plant is operating. The plant is capable for what capacity, and the plant is right now running for what amount of production. So the thing is, the one information here that the plant is currently operating at 50% of its available manufacturing capacity. So if it is like that, the plant was originally designed or originally capable for making, say, 400,000 products, but right now it is operating at 50% of its available manufacturing capacity. So half of 40,000, sorry, half of 400,000 is 200,000. That means it is producing 200,000 products right now. So let's see what are the requirements. Compute the plant-wide predetermined overhead rate. So now I will take help of my text rather than opening my screen. Let's open the whiteboard. For solving a problem, I will assume that you are following the problem from your text. Okay, so for the plant-wide overhead rate, if you have not forgot that what we learned in the previous class, you can recall that how can we get the predetermined overhead cost. So first of all, we need to solve the total overhead cost. So one portion was a fixed component of overhead cost, another portion was a variable component. So from our problem, we see that fixed component of the overhead cost 1.98 million. So it is this amount. And for the variable part, we see our machine hours at 50, and for each machine hour, we have mentioned that it is our activity base, the machine hours. And for each machine hour, we have been given the variable manufacturing overhead rate, that is $2. So it will be precise if I write the line for the dollar, we get total around. Okay. So the class is being recorded. Someone has asked that whether I am yes, I'm recording head cost. Okay, now the question, working for 165,000 machine hours capacity. So what will be the plant-wide predetermined overhead rate? So for the plant-wide predetermined overhead rate, what can we do? We can divide the total overhead cost estimated, obviously, and we can divide this number by our activity base, which is the total machine hours for which the plant will be operating. So if I write here activity base, and you know that what I'm meaning here, I'm meaning the estimated total overhead here, and here I'm meaning the estimated total machine hours. Now, if I divide this 2.3 million by 0.165 million, I'll get that the overhead rate is $14 per machine hour. So it is per machine hour. So this should be this should fill the requirement of the requirement 1. Now requirement 2, let's read together. During the year, the job 90 is a particular job which has been identified, was started, completed, and sold to the customer for 2,500. So it is a kind of we are doing the calculation after having the job delivered to the customer. Okay. The following information was available with respect to the job: direct materials 1,150, direct labor cost 830, and machine hours used 72. So we have understood that this machine hours has been given to us to estimate the manufacturing overhead expenses. Or okay, so compute the total manufacturing cost assigned to job P90. So for the problem 2, what can we do? We can assemble all the manufacturing expenses. Say here we have the direct materials. That is 1,150 given. Then for direct labor, 830. Let me write the $sign here. And we need to find out the manufacturing overhead. That should be, note that there is a machine hours used 72. And we know that for each machine hour, we have the overhead expenses of $14 per machine hour. So we have 1,008. $1,008. So if we sum up all of this, we get the manufacturing cost for which one? We get the manufacturing cost for job P90. Okay, manufacturing cost for job P90. So if we sum up how much we will get, it should be 8. It should be 8, and it should be 9, and it should be 2. Okay. So this is the total manufacturing cost based on this estimation what we just have made, and it is particularly applicable for which job? Job P90. So one thing we like to share, that do not misunderstand this short notation for the direct materials, direct labor, manufacturing overhead. So if you're not attending the class, you might understand that why sir is writing the direct messaging here, or direct message me. Okay. So don't try to misunderstand this. It is just for saving time in the class, and do not even try to write it down on the exam script. That will be very unexpected. Okay. Okay. Okay, number 2 is done. Now there's a question. The question is like this. Note that the job was sold at which price? 2,500. But we see the cost based on our estimation is 2,988. It's kind of the company has done something wrong, or the company has done some loss-making job. So that's why the chief financial officer has raised concern. the financial officer of the company is saying that upon completing job P90, the chief financial officer is saying by comparing the sales revenue with the total manufacturing cost, if the exact same opportunity work through our front door tomorrow, I will turn it down rather than making it and selling it for 2,500. So it is a kind of strong argument that I'll not continue, or I'll not take any kind of a job look like the job P90. So we have to make some argument against the chief financial officer, and again in support of the chief financial officer. Okay. Okay. Someone has raised question here. Would you please repeat the meaning of using 50% of the capacity in the question? Okay, the thing is like that. The plant is originally designed for 300,000 capacity, or 300,000 products manufacturing capacity, but it is actually right now operating at 50% of its capacity. It is not producing 3,000, 300,000, rather it is producing at 150,000 in this way. I'll show you in more detail in the requirement number 3, because there are some more discussion we need to make for this issue. So this issue will help us to find the answer to refute or to support the CFO's argument or CFO's assertion. Okay. First of all, you probably can recall that we mentioned about the contribution margin in our class, that we mentioned that if we do not have any kind of contribution margin, we have to stop. If we see that our sales revenue has been eaten by the variable cost, and it has remained nothing for capturing or for covering the fixed cost. So that is unexpected. In that case, economics is telling us that you need to go for shutting down your business. Okay. So first of all, we like to check that if the company is operating at 50% of its manufacturing capacity, and if we believe that, or if we have some clue that it is still giving us at least $1 contribution margin to cover the fixed cost expenses, in that case, we will assume that it is a kind of counter argument against the argument of CFO. CFO is saying, let's stop this. But if we try to think of the contribution margin argument, let's see that what happens. Can we refute the CFO's assertion to stop this or to continue this? So the argument is that if we have still a $1 contribution margin, we'll try to pursue this kind of business opportunity as long as the company is operating 50% of its manufacturing capacity. So let's try to explore it. What is our sales revenue for this particular job? To get the contribution margin, we have to prepare a income statement. We have a sales revenue of $2,500. I believe we have not forgot, or you can not recall that from where this number is coming. So sales is $2,500 for this particular job, this one. Okay. Okay. For the purpose of contribution margin, which expenses I should get? All manufacturing expenses, or all the variable expenses, or all the variable cost? To be precise, it should be variable cost other than the expenses. Okay, for the getting the contribution margin, we have to find out the variable cost. So we know that direct materials is a variable cost. It is 1,150. And we also know that direct labor is a variable expenses 830. And out of the manufacturing overhead, the question is all the total manufacturing overhead is variable, or there's a component which is fixed? So there's a component which is fixed. And let me write, circle it down for you. This component is fixed. So which component is variable? This component is variable. So for contribution margin, we need to sum all the variable expenses. So what we are doing, variable cost, okay. So $2 per machine hour, that is the variable manufacturing overhead. Let me write it, okay. Okay, variable manufacturing overhead. For this job, how many machine hours has been used? 72 machine hours multiplied by 2. So we will get 144. So if we sum all of these variable cost, we get how much? Answer from you would mention, or you'd sound very loud in physical class. Now you can give the answer silently in the chat box. By summing these three numbers, the manufacturing cost for this job, 2,104. So 2,104. Thank you for your responses. So you get a positive dollar contribution margin or a negative dollar contribution margin. Obviously, you get some positive dollar contribution margin. So our argument is that as long as you are getting a positive contribution margin and you are also operating at 50% of your production capacity, you should not be very much unhappy and you can still pursue such business opportunity which is giving positive contribution margin. So what we are doing, we are supporting or we are refuting the chief financial officer. We are refuting chief financial officer based on the argument that the positive contribution margin. Okay, so let's see, is there any way that we make an argument which will support the CFO's assertion in an alternative way? Construct an argument accompanied by numerical analysis that supports the chief financial officer's assertion. So chief financial officer's assertion is to abandon this kind of business opportunity and go for a better business opportunity. Okay, so let me put here, and I'm writing the 4 here, number 4. Okay, now the application of manufacturing capacity, that the manufacturing capacity of this plant is actually not for 165,000 machine hours. This plant has capacity for running the 330,000 machine capacities. or go down. But if the 50% of the manufacturing capacity is 165,000, if it 165,000 is indicates the machine hours 165,000, if we would have 100% capacity, what would be the machine hours? Give me your answer in the chat box. Okay, I see responses are coming. Good responses, 330,000. So you have got that the plant has been designed originally for 330,000 capacity, and the plan is actually running for 165,000 machine hours capacity. Now you see the overhead, what we estimated earlier, using the 165,000 machine hours capacity. Does this manufacturing overhead reflects the manufacturing overhead at actual capacity? If we estimate the manufacturing overhead using this reduced portion of capacity, does this manufacturing overhead reflects the actual overhead at actual capacity? The answer should be yes or no. So the answer is no. Good. So you have got it. So let's proceed. The thing is that in that case, we need to check what would be the manufacturing overhead if we overhead based on the actual capacity of 330,000 rather than the reduced capacity of 165,000. So we can repeat this calculation, which is here. Okay, this one. So what can we do? Okay, so it is possible that we can okay, so I was trying to copy this portion. It is possible in this whiteboard, not possible in physical whiteboard. Okay, so I'm not getting it right now. So okay, so let's rewrite the calculation for the manufacturing overhead fixed cost plus variable cost. Remember, it is for the manufacturing overhead, not the total fixed cost or not the total variable cost. Okay, so it is as a same as 1.98 million. And what should be the variable cost for manufacturing overhead portion right now? It should be 330,000 multiplied by 2. Same. So in that case, what would be my estimated total overhead? It should be, okay, someone has written it down for me. Thanks. 260. Okay, it should be 0.64 million, kind of. 2.64 million. Okay. Okay. So one thing I like to help you to learn that when you pronounce the big number, you try to pronounce the number in terms of million or in terms of billion so that you can it is not only for this purpose, it also used for application purpose, so that you can think of the numbers more easily. You do not need to be very precise to pronounce all of the numbers, okay? And all of the numbers, and you do not need to express in terms of unit digit or in terms of tenth, okay, or in terms of hundred. Try to mention it in terms of thousand, million, billion, in this way, so you'll be more comfortable. Okay, so this is our estimated total overhead cost. Now, a predetermined overhead rate, what will be now? The revised predetermined overhead. Total overhead estimated divided by, it should be the activity base. Now, note that it would not be the reduced capacity activity base, rather it will be the actual capacity. So if we write 2.64 million, and this is our total revised overhead expenses, divide this number by 330,000. You know that from where I'm getting this 330,000, it is the number of machine hours if we would run the machine, if we would run the plant for at actual capacity. So what will be the predetermined overhead rate? $8. Someone has written this answer for me in the chat box. Thanks. So you see that it is $8 per machine hour. So you see that what is the changes from the $14 overhead per machine hour and $8 per machine hour. What has caused the changes? Do you know which portion has caused this change? Has reduced this from 14 to 8? From 14 to 8. Which is driving this number from 14 to down to 8? Is it, you see that which has actually went down, or which has actually gone down? The variable cost or the fixed cost? Yeah, the answer is fixed cost. Obviously, the increased capacity, increased machine hour, that is driving. You see that when you are allocating the fixed cost for actual capacity, which is a greater number, you have been able to reduce the per unit fixed cost, and that is the idea, or that is the advantage, that why people prefer more fixed cost when they have more capacity, or when they have more sales number, or when they have more activity base. Okay, because they can able to reduce the fixed cost per unit. Okay, that's the idea. Okay, now let's revise our total manufacturing cost using this overhead. Okay, so our direct materials will remain same. That is the direct materials. Again, what we are doing, I'm trying to remind you, we are trying to make an argument based on some numerical analysis which will support the chief financial officer's assertion. What is his assertion? To abandon this kind of opportunity. Okay, so direct materials cost is same, $1,150. The direct labor is $830, and okay, manufacturing overhead. So we are not right now supporting. We are right now do not counter, are making a counter. We are trying to find out a way to support the CFO's argument. Okay, so here the manufacturing overhead. What is the manufacturing overhead per machine hour? 8. For this activity, remember, it is the job 90, right? Yeah, job P90. The manufacturing overhead is based on the machine hours. For this job, 72 machine hours have been used. So for 72 machine hours, we have per machine hour $8 overhead cost. This is $8. And if we multiply this, we get 576. Okay. So if we sum all of this, 2,556, other than assuming any selling or any administrative expenses, we get the total manufacturing cost for this job is 2,556. You probably can recall what was the sales revenue for this job, 2,500. So you see, if we sell this job at this price, we have negative profit, right? If we have negative profit, in that case, we should support the CFO suggestion. We should support the CFO suggestion that, yeah, he is right, that this kind of business opportunity should not be pursued. Okay. So we have some time remaining. So by this time, what can we do? We can look for another problem, interesting problem, and let's try to solve it together. But before that, let's explore what is the problem. Okay. And okay, this one, exercise number 211, varying plant-wide predetermined overhead rate. Varying plant-wide predetermined overhead rate. Okay. Okay. So we'll try to explore that how the predetermined overhead rate is varying. Is it varying for having more department, or is it varying for other reason? 25016 has raised hand. So 016. Okay. I have asked you to unmute. So is it possible to unmute by yourself?
Yes, sir. It's possible.
Yeah, please.
I have a question,
please.
sir.
See, yeah, please. Please, I'm listening, or we all are listening to you. Mention your question, please. You have unmuted again.
Sir, sorry, sir. I got unmuted again. Sir, my question is, here you have shown that the cost is $8. But my question is, in this $8, the fixed cost also exists, sir.
Yeah.
But if we see the previous question, you have multiplied the machine hour with $2, where the fixed cost was not there.
Yeah.
When we calculating the CM, why, sir? I don't get it.
Okay. Remember, this calculation in number 3 and the calculation in number 4 are not comparable. The purpose of solving the, getting the contribution margin is to find out a way to make a counter argument or make an argument against the assertion of CFO. That's why we approach to this route to get a contribution margin. The idea is that if we have a positive contribution margin, we can make an argument against the CFO. Okay.
Okay, sir.
But in number 4, the objective is not to make a counter argument. The objective is to support the argument raised by the CFO. Okay.
Yes.
So that's why we went in this route. In this route, we see that if we think of the straight profit, instead of looking at the contribution margin, we see that simplistically the job is not profit-making job.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's why our calculation approach for 3 and approach for number 4 are different.
Okay, sir.
Am
Got
I
it.
clear to you?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome. Okay, so again, okay, exercise number 211. So King Sport Containers Company make a single product that is subject to wide seasonal variations in demand. The company uses a job order costing system and computes plant-wide predetermined overhead rates on a quarterly basis, using the number of units to be produced as the allocation base. Its estimated cost by quarter for the coming year are given below. So for 4 quarters, the information are given, and it has been mentioned this company uses a job order costing, which determines the estimated determined overhead rate, but based on a quarterly basis. Okay. So these are our information given. Management finds the variation in quarterly unit product cost to be confusing. Estimated unit product cost. Remember, the same product as a single product, it is the issue we like to highlight. Okay, this one. Okay. Single product. Single product should not be produced at a varying cost at different quarters. It should be produced at a very similar cost, right? It is an expectation, but if it does not go in this way, it should be confusing. It has been suggested that the problem lies with the manufacturing overhead because it is the largest element of total manufacturing cost. So it's out of the total cost, we see a manufacturing overhead is eating significant total manufacturing cost or contributing at significant manufacturing cost. Okay. So that has been explained. Accordingly, you have been asked to find out a more appropriate way of assigning manufacturing overhead cost to units of product. Okay. The requirement, assuming the estimated variable manufacturing overhead cost per unit $2, what must be the estimated total fixed manufacturing overhead cost per quarter? Okay. So you take your text and try to get the information from there, because I will be working on a whiteboard. Okay, the thing is that we need to find out that what is the variable, what is the fixed portion of the manufacturing overhead. I mean, we need to explore more about the details of the manufacturing overhead. So you see, if the total manufacturing overhead is $300,000 and number of units to be produced in this quarter is 80,000, and we have been given the variable manufacturing overhead cost is $2 per unit, is it possible to get the fixed manufacturing overhead? I believe it is possible, and it is a straightforward total estimated, not total estimated, total manufacturing overhead is $300,000. If we subtract the variable portion, that is the 80,000 multiplied by how much? $2. Yeah, $2 per unit. It is 160,000, and we have how much? 140,000. Okay, so someone has written CM is equal to minus 56 or 576. What does it mean? Is it for a previous problem? Yeah. I got it. It is for that how much negative profit the job is generating or the job is yielding. Okay. You see, we are estimating the fixed portion of the manufacturing overhead. We see it is for the 140,000. Now your task is to get the same fixed manufacturing overhead for the third quarter and write the answer in the chat box very quick in the same way. Get the variable manufacturing cost by multiplying 20,000 and $2 and subtract this amount from the total manufacturing overhead, get the fixed portion of the manufacturing overhead. So I see 120,000. How? Okay. In the third quarter, you see the number of units to be produced is 20,000. So what is our variable portion of the manufacturing overhead per rate? $2. So 20,000 multiplied by 2, 40,000. And if we subtract this 40,000 from 180,000, we get 140,000. So for each quarter, you'll see that fixed portion of the manufacturing overhead is 140,000. So we have been able to solve our requirement 1. And now what is the requirement 2? Assuming the assumptions about cost behavior from the first 3 quarters hold constant, what is the estimated unit product cost of the 4th quarter? Okay. What has been mentioned that the cost behavior will remain same in all quarters. So we have seen that the fixed portion of the manufacturing overhead will, if it remains same, in that case, we see that for 4th quarter, for 60,000 number of units, if we multiply this by $2 variable manufacturing overhead, we get 120,000. It is the variable portion of the manufacturing overhead for the 4th quarter or the final quarter. Okay. What is the fixed cost if the cost behavior remains same in all quarters? Write your responses in the chat box. If the cost behavior remains same in all quarters, what will be the fixed cost? Okay, so responses are coming. It is to be 140,000. In that case, we get the manufacturing overhead for 4th quarter is 260,000. So you see, if we get the manufacturing overhead of 260,000, what will be the total manufacturing cost? 180,000 plus 96,000 plus 260,000. In that case, total manufacturing cost should be 536,000. It is a straightforward calculation. 536,000. Probably you have made a typo in 356,000. Okay. Now, what is the number of units to be produced in the final quarter? The 60,000. So if we divide this number by 60,000, what we will get? We will get the estimated unit product cost for the 4th quarter. That should be 8.93. 8.93. Okay. Okay. I see the responses are coming from some common people. Common people are few people are responding more, and I see no responses from uncommon people. So please, new people, participate, and there is no penalty if your answer is wrong. But if you do this calculation with me together, you can find out that where I am making problem or you are making problem, where we need to check or where we need to correct ourselves. Okay. So that is a good way that to participate or the motivation of participating here. Okay. I have erased this for the purpose of The next requirement, we have been able to solve our second requirement. Okay, unit product cost estimated, obviously, for the fourth quarter. Number 3, what is causing the estimated unit product cost to fluctuate from one quarter to the next? That is a big question. What is causing the estimated unit product cost to fluctuate from one quarter to the next? Do you have any idea? Write your responses in chat box so that I can have an idea that what do you think about this variation, why it is happening. If you can relate the problem with the previous problem, you have the answer. That now you have all the information, no question mark here. But the question is why the unit product cost is fluctuating. Again, the fixed cost, fixed portion. Obviously, number of units will fluctuate, but you see that direct materials, direct labor will respond directly in response to the changes in the number of unit product cost. Again, out of the manufacturing overhead, the variable manufacturing overhead will also fluctuate in terms of the number of units to be produced, right? So direct material, direct labor, variable manufacturing overhead will respond directly to the number of units to be produced, but which will not respond directly. The fixed portion of the manufacturing overhead will not respond directly. And in some quarter, obviously, you see that number of units is producing is more. In some quarter, the number of units to be produced is lower. Do you have any idea that why the number of units to be produced fluctuate from quarter to quarter? Note that this is a single product producing company, and they have mentioned that their production varies for seasonal variation. Now, I would like to get at least one company name from you, from our local companies, which is likely to change their production for seasonal variation. Write some company name in the chat box so that I have an idea that you know the kind of companies which change their production in response to changes in the season. That is the weather season, not other season. You have two criteria. That company need to be a kind of single product producing company, and that company changes the number of unit. I was expecting your answer. Ice cream company, Igloo ice cream. Umbrella making companies, Atlas umbrella making company. Okay, that is good, but I will encourage you to, you are very correct, but I will encourage you to explore the name of the company precisely. Okay, obviously, I know the category of companies. It could be ice cream company, it could be umbrella company, it could be a pharmaceutical company. How pharmaceutical company? That is interesting. Would you please explain, Shajid? Okay, let me unmute you. Shajid. Okay, Shajid, please. Can you give me the idea that how pharmaceutical company?
স্যার বেসিক্যালি স্যার শীতের সময় স্যার ঠান্ডা তারপরে স্যার এই টাইপের রোগের জন্য এই টাইপের ওষুধ স্যার বেশি তৈরি করা হয় স্যার, যত স্যার জানি। আব্বু ফার্মাসিউটিক্যাল কোম্পানিতে জব করে তো স্যার এই শুতে।
Okay. You see that the pharmaceutical products for the winter season will be required more in the winter season, right? So in which season it should be produced? In the winter season or the season coming before the winter season? if you produce in winter season, will you be able to capture the market demand? Is my question clear, Sajid? Sajid, have you got my question? Okay, I get no response. Okay, people are getting have got my question and they are responding very clearly. Okay, before winter. Okay, let's proceed. You have got it that for seasonal variation, it will change, but the question was, you already have given the answer. Because of the fixed portion of the manufacturing overhead, the estimated unit product cost is fluctuating over time. Okay. How would you recommend stabilizing the company's unit product cost? Support your answer with computation. Okay. So we have an idea that how many units will be produced in the total 4 quarters or in a year. Do we have an idea? 80,000 in first quarter, 40,000 second quarter, 20,000 third quarter, 60,000 fourth quarter. If we add all of this, 80,000, okay, how much we will get? 200 units, 200,000 units. I see responses are coming. Okay, if we sum all of this, we are trying to get the annual number of units to be produced, kind of estimation. It should be 200,000. What is the question, by the way? Let me remind you again. How would you recommend stabilizing the company's unit product cost? Support your answer with computation. Okay. I do not know if it is possible to copy in Excel. Okay, it is not possible. Okay, so let me give you the idea what is happening. So instead of estimating the predetermined overhead rate based on a quarterly basis, if we estimate the predetermined overhead rate based on an annual basis, can we solve the fluctuation of the unit product cost? That is the idea. Okay, so we have the total manufacturing cost. So how the total manufacturing cost? So for each quarter, we get fixed manufacturing overhead of 140,000. And for 4 quarters, how much we should have fixed manufacturing overhead? 560,000. This is the fixed portion of the manufacturing overhead. Again, you see that annual estimated units of products to be produced is 200,000. So we can determine the variable portion of the manufacturing overhead. Can you recall that how much was the variable manufacturing overhead per unit? It is the $2. So if we multiply this by 2, we get 400,000. Now, if we sum all of this fixed portion and the variable portion, we should get 960,000. And now, if I divide the total estimated manufacturing overhead, including fixed and variable, I mean the Y, and divide this number by the estimated activity base, which is 200,000. You know that from where we have got the 200,000. Okay, 200,000. So how much manufacturing overhead we will get? Now we are not calculating on a quarterly basis. Now we are estimating the predetermined overhead rate based on an annual basis. So we'll get 4.8 per unit. Okay, you have given me the answer. That's good. 4.8 per unit. Now, what is your task? Your task is to apply the 4.8 manufacturing overhead. Remember, it includes both fixed and variable portion. Okay, Now what you'll try to replace this value 300,000 to 20,000, 180,000, and this one probably I can't recall right now. Okay, so what you need to do, you need to write here 80,000 number of units to be produced. Let me write one for you. 80,000 multiplied by 4.8. 80,000 multiplied by 4.8. How much you will get? Some amount less than 400,000. 384,000. Okay. So if you write here 384,000 higher, this one, replacing this one, if you write how much? 384,000, and you do same for second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, what you will see that all unit product costs have become uniform. There has been no changes. As I have solved this, let me write it that it should be, you have written it 384,000. And now if we have the total manufacturing cost, if we add the 384,000 with 240,000, 128,000, we will get in total 752,000. And if we divide this by the number of units to be produced in the first quarter, 80,000, you will see that unit cost per unit, the manufacturing cost you will get, it is to be $9.4 per unit. Yeah, someone has written it for me, 9.4. So in this way, you will see that for second, third, fourth, all unit product costs have become uniform. So that is the way to work with the requirement of number 4. So for solving more exercise, I will recommend you to solve these problems. We have solved together 9 to 11. I recommend you to look at 213, 214, and 219. And if you have any issue, we can discuss together in next class, or we'll also try to solve one of these problems out of these 3 together in next class. So that is all about for today's class. And I have to stop recording. Now, if you have any issue, you can share immediately with me, because I have another class. Okay, you can also write on your chat box if you have any issue, please. Sir, can you please provide the recording of the previous class? Obviously, I will provide the recording of previous class. The recording is not for me, rather recording is for you. Okay, but I will maintain some lag, 3 days or 1 week, because it requires some processing to upload this. So I will encourage you to attend the classes and look at the recording, watch the recording later if you have any issue to revise. Okay. So I see no other issue in chat box and no one is raising hand. Sir, I'm unable to unmute myself. I have a question. Okay. Okay, Shahjahan Mahabub, stage 25012. Shajnin, right? Shajnin Mahabub. Shajnin, you can no, yeah, please.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম স্যার, আমার হচ্ছে স্যার এক্সারসাইজ 29 থেকে একটা কোশ্চেন ছিল। সেটা হচ্ছে স্যার আমাদের রিকোয়ারমেন্ট
কোনটাতে 29?
জি স্যার 29 যেটা আমরা প্রথমে করেছিলাম।
জি জি
তো
জি
ওখানে
জি।
রিকোয়ারমেন্ট 3 এর বি তে আমরা যে সিএফও স্টেটমেন্টের সাপোর্টে আমরা যে ম্যাথটা করলাম স্যার, সেখানে হচ্ছে আমরা 100% ক্যাপাসিটিতে আবার সবকিছু বের করেছি যে ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং কস্ট কত হবে, তারপর আমরা হচ্ছে মানে স্টেটমেন্টকে সাপোর্ট করেছি ওভাবে। এখন স্যার আমার কোয়েশ্চেন হচ্ছে যে আমাদের তো যখন আমরা 100% ক্যাপাসিটিতে আমরা ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং কস্ট বের করেছি, তখন আমাদের হচ্ছে সেলস রেভিনিউটা কম ছিল ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং কস্ট থেকে। আবার 50% যখন আমরা বের করেছিলাম তখনও কিন্তু স্যার সেলস রেভিনিউটা কমই ছিল। তো স্যার আমরা তো মানে যদি সাপোর্ট করতে চাই সেক্ষেত্রে স্যার 50%টা ঠিক মানে ধরেই তো আমরা করতে পারি, কারণ 50% তো সেলস রেভিনিউ হচ্ছে কমই ছিল ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং কস্ট থেকে। তাহলে তো আমরা 100%টা হচ্ছে কেন ধরলাম আর কি, আমার কোয়েশ্চেনটা হচ্ছে এটা। হ্যালো।
আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ আমি শুনতে পেয়েছি। এখানে আমাদের ফার্স্ট অ্যাপ্রোচটা ছিল আমরা কন্ট্রিবিউশন মার্জিনের রুটে যাচ্ছিলাম। মানে আপনি এখানে আপনি রেস্ট্রিক্টেড না, মানে আপনি কোন ওয়েতে যাবেন, ওকে। বাট আপনাকে একটা আর্গুমেন্ট দেখাতে হবে যেটাতে আপনি আইদার সাপোর্ট করছেন, এন্ড সেকেন্ড ইস্যুটা হচ্ছে আপনি প্রথমে কাউন্টার করছেন, পরে হচ্ছে সাপোর্ট করছেন। তো প্রথমে যখন কাউন্টার করছেন তখন আমরা দেখেছি যে আমরা যদি কন্ট্রিবিউশন মার্জিনের ওয়েতে দেখি, ওকে। আর সেকেন্ড যেটা করছি সেটাতে আমরা ডিরেক্ট প্রফিটের এস্টিমেশন করছি, বাট এখানে আমাদের ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং ওভারহেডের যেটা এস্টিমেশন, এটা আমরা এখানে অ্যাকচুয়াল ক্যাপাসিটিতে কাউন্ট করেছি। সো এখানে কিন্তু আমি যখন কাজ করছি তখন কিন্তু আমি বলেছি যে আমি যদি অ্যাকচুয়াল হয়, এখন আপনি যদি বলেন যদি অ্যাকচুয়াল না হয় তখন কি হয়, সেটাও কিন্তু একটা সিচুয়েশন হতে পারে, বোঝা গেছে? বাট in any way you have to either find out a way to counter, and in number 4 you have to find out a way to support the CFO's argument, okay? So আপনি যে কোনো ওয়েতেই যেতে পারেন, বাট এখানে আমাদের সেকেন্ড যেটা মানে নাম্বার 4 এ ছিল আমাদের ডিরেক্ট প্রফিটটা ক্যালকুলেট করা। আর আপনি যদি এখানে 50% কাউন্ট করতেন কি হতো নাম্বার 4 এ, বলেন তো?
স্যার মানে স্যার 50% কাউন্ট করলেও তো স্যার আমাদের সেলস মানে ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং কস্টটা সেলস রেভিনিউ থেকে বেশি আসতেছে। তো স্যার এটা দিয়েও মানে তো আমরা বলতে পারি যে সিএফও যেটা বলেছে যে স্টেটমেন্টটা সেটা কারেক্ট।
ইয়া, এখন দেখেন which one is more precise, অ্যাকচুয়াল ক্যাপাসিটিতে ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং ওভারহেড কাউন্ট করা নাকি রিডিউসড ক্যাপাসিটিতে ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং ওভারহেড কাউন্ট করা?
স্যার প্রিসাইজনেস এর দিকে খেয়াল করলে স্যার 100% ক্যাপাসিটিটা ধরে করাই ভালো।
So that was the purpose in the second part, okay?
জি স্যার, ওকে স্যার, বুঝতে পেরেছি স্যার, থ্যাংক ইউ।
Okay. Anyone please? I probably got, okay. Okay, if you have more issues, please, you can write email to me. I have to stop now because I will be taking another class 15 minutes from now. Okay, so okay, thank you all for joining, and please write in the Google Classroom any post by sharing your question, by sharing your confusion. It is not only me that আমি সবসময় answer দিব. There are still some good answers from our people that can also help you. Okay, so use the Google Classroom to share your confusion, and other people will also participate to solve it. It is not only always good that you will wait for my responses, and if I see some responses are not in a right direction, I'll try to correct. If it is like that I am giving some responses which is not in a right direction, you can also correct me. So that is the purpose for creating the Google Classroom and creating the thread post for the purpose of class. Okay, try to utilize this. So thank you all for joining. It's all about let me end the meeting for all.